The Winchester Mystery House, San Jose, California. The rumors about the maze-like Victorian mansion started soon after its eccentric owner, Sarah Winchester, began her elaborate and intricate construction. With odd nooks and crannies, past doors that open into walls, and staircases that go to nowhere. There are now 160 rooms, 2,000 doors, 10,000 windows, 47 stairways, 47 fireplaces, 13 bathrooms, and 6 kitchens. Tourists have been warned against wandering off as they could get lost for hours. The story goes like this. After losing her only child and her husband in New England, Winchester, the only heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company fortune, Sarah Winchester, consulted a Boston psychic. The psychic told Sarah that her family was cursed by the souls of American Indians and Civil War soldiers who had been killed by the Winchester rifles. The gun that won the West is what they would call them. And the only way to placate those restless spirits was to build a rambling house for them to inhabit and wander off. Sarah Winchester moved to California, where she bought an unfinished farmhouse in 1886. And for the next 36 years, she would renovate and rebuild the home, reportedly hiring construction workers to work around the clock, because as long as the hammering continued, the rumor went, she could stay alive. Although the truth was tainted by yellow journalists and nosy neighbors who would make up all sorts of stories, fueled by Sarah Winchester's need for privacy and refusal to speak publicly. The fact remains that visitors and staff alike claim to have heard footsteps and breathing. They've seen apparitions from other eras, find locked doors suddenly open. The Unearthly Inn, Hotel Takara, Okinawa, Japan. Keep out, do not enter, and danger are some of the signs posted outside of the abandoned Hotel Takara near the restored ruins of the 14th century Nakagusuku Castle in Okinawa, Japan. Physical danger aside, the hotel, also known as the Royal, has become the kind of haunt that local teenagers used to dare and scare each other. In the process, they have created a campfire story that has been seen as factual, thanks to the different versions told over the internet. Here's how the legend goes. In the mid-1970s, an unnamed businessman from Naha financed the construction of the hotel on the hill with prime views of Okinawa. Hoping to cash in on the crowds coming to the 1975 Okinawa International Ocean Exposition, he had hatched plans that included a water park, a petting zoo, and a nightclub. Soon, local Buddhist monks would warn him that the site was sacred, that it was too close to a number of old tombs, and the cave was inhabited by restless spirits. The businessman paid no attention until a series of freak accidents claimed the lives of some of his workmen. Soon, his remaining employees resigned. They were too terrified to face the spirits. The owner had no choice but to move into his uncompleted project, and slowly he went insane, ending his days as a wandering hermit in the empty rooms. Whether or not the Hotel Takara is haunted, the spot is undeniably creepy, even in the daylight. It's filled with rubbish, graffiti, and spiderwebs, and it's not too hard to mistake a tattered curtain for a ghost. Or maybe the ghost of that businessman from Naha. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except for death and taxes. And the two were once gruesomely combined in the silver mining town of Guanajuato, Mexico. Between the 1860s and 1958, relatives were forced to pay a tax to keep their dead loved ones buried in the cemetery. If they couldn't afford the fee, the bodies were removed from the tomb and stored in the ossuary. Because of the dry, hot climate and the fact that the corpses had been kept in airtight crypts, some of the unearthed souls had become well-preserved mummies. When curious locals began asking to see the bodies, workers started charging them for the questionable privilege, and that was the beginning of the Museo de las Momias de Guanajuato, which opened its doors in 1969 with more than 100 mummies to show. Whenever the dead bodies have been disturbed, you can be pretty sure there will be ghost stories. This place is no exception. People have reported seeing the apparition of a tall lady, hearing strange whispering sounds and the cries of babies in the building. This is the Mummy Museum of Guanajuato. The Tower of London, England. There is only you and I here. A disembodied and ungrammatical voice supposedly said to Tower of London night watchman Arthur Crick, who had stopped along his nightly rounds to rest his feet. "Just let me get this bloody shoe on," Crick responded, "and there only will be you." Guards aren't the only ones who say they have experienced supernatural phenomena in England's fearsome ancient fortress on the River Thames. Started by William the Conqueror in 1066, the complex of towers, now home to everything from the crown jewels to an axe that was probably used in the last public beheading on Tower Hill. It is said that it is widely considered the most haunted building in all England. Throughout its notorious history, this site has seen more than its share of bloodshed and mystery. It's supposedly home to the ghost of Henry VIII, who was possibly praying here when he was stabbed to death, allegedly in the presence of Richard Plantagenet. In 1471, the unhappy Henry is now set to haunt Wakefield Tower, where tortures often took place. The most storied part of the complex is, not surprisingly, the oldest. The White Tower is where the ghost known as the White Lady wanders. Her perfume often smelled at the entrance of the Chapel of St. John's. A headless ghost said to be that of Queen Anne Boleyn, second wife of Henry VIII, is sometimes seen near the Queen's house, close to where she was executed on Tower Green. The 9-day Queen, Lady Jane Grey, was reportedly spotted by guards on February 12, 1957, on the 403rd anniversary of her death by execution. And saddest of all the stories are the bodies of Edward IV's two young sons, Edward V and Richard. In 1483, they were sent to the Tower after being declared illegitimate by their uncle Richard, who people speculate may also have been murdered. He became King Richard III. In 1674, the skeletons of two young boys were discovered beneath the staircase. But the brothers' spirits continue to be seen in white nightgowns, clutching each other in terror.